When you think of turtles, you're probably reminded of box turtles like this little fella here. But did you know that there are some turtles so large that you could actually ride on their backs? Well, these are the giant tortoises of the Galapagos Islands. And they're part of the very special world that helped Charles Darwin form his theory of evolution. The Galapagos Islands are one of the most unique and fascinating places on Earth. Born out of the sea, these islands are the result of millions of years of volcanic eruptions. For centuries, they lay dormant while the lava cooled, and then something extraordinary happened. The winds and seas brought animals to this barren landscape. But what happened after they arrived is perhaps the most amazing story. For here, isolated from their ancestors, the wildlife developed into a species completely unique and different from anything else in the world. Join me now as we explore the mysterious world of Darwin's Galapagos. Later, we'll have some fun playing Animal Quiz, so stay with us. It's an adventure I'm sure you'll enjoy.
Out of the sea came fire. Out of the fire came lava. Out of the lava, islands were formed. So 2 million years ago, in the waters of the Pacific, a new archipelago began to take shape. 600 miles of open sea separated it from South America on the east. And to the west, the open Pacific stretched for 3,000 miles before another island broke its surface. In their isolation, the islands simmered under the equatorial sun. Many millennia passed as the molten lava cooled. No living thing could get a foothold in this barren, inhospitable landscape. But gradually the islands cooled. Sea breezes and currents swept seeds onto the bleak land. And finally, the land began to bloom. Conditions were harsh. In some areas of the island's 3,000 square miles of land, rain never fell, but life is tenacious. The little plants clung on and flourished, adapting to the climate. Thus began the creation of the Galapagos Islands. Soon, certain types of plant life were abundant here. And then, borne by the winds and ocean currents, animal life arrived. It was miraculous that any living creatures could survive the 600-mile trip from the nearest land. But some hardy species found the Galapagos a paradise. To survive, they had to adapt to the new and different conditions they found here. As they adapted, new variations of the animals developed, like the giant Galapagos tortoise. And the land iguana. As time went by, the animals came to differ more and more from their continental ancestors. In many cases, different forms of the creatures evolved on various islands of the archipelago. This fact is what constitutes the unusual character of the islands, and is the reason why we call the Galapagos Evolution's Showcase. The unique land iguanas live mainly on the prickly pear cactus. Now, to most creatures, spiny cactus might not seem like a very enticing meal. But the scaly ancestors of the iguana who first came here probably found very little else to eat. And their ability to find a way to use the cactus is what allowed the species to survive. Iguanas stake out territories. and this one is warning that potential rival to stay away. But he continues to advance. The land iguanas are docile except during their breeding time. Then the males guard their territories zealously. Usually they will threaten each other in this way until the weaker drops to his belly to signal submission and retreats tail first. But these are confronting each other with unusual fury. Defeat. Well, there's lots of other lava and cactus for the vanquished, and the victor has satisfactorily defended his bit of territory in the animal world. The early explorers of the Galapagos Islands called them Las Islas Encantadas, the Enchanted Isles. Even today, it seems as if some spell might hang over these islands, where some regions are like Eden, some like the Inferno, and where animals that are different from any others on Earth make their home. This is Daphne Crater. It is the cone of a volcano rising starkly out of the sea. There are no breaks in the 1,000-foot-high crater walls, and within them the air is still. Terrain is blasting hot and arid, and the crater floor is volcanic dust. But this inferno is the traditional nesting place of a bird called the blue-footed booby. At nesting time, the boobies come here to select their mates and hatch their young. And now, probably for the first time on television, we bring you the mating dance of the blue-footed booby. So the dance continues. Soon the happy couple will make a home here on the bare ground, and the dancing will be over until next year. surely one of the things that gave the Galapagos the name Enchanted Isles was the dragon-like appearance of the marine iguanas. These 3-foot-long reptiles give the islands the appearance of prehistoric times. Since no large land mammals came across the sea to these islands, reptiles became dominant here, just as they were all over the world in the distant past. But the Galapagos reptiles are not the same as those that lived on the continent in past geological ages. In fact, marine iguanas were never seen before the first sailors and adventurers came here. Early sea captains tried to use them as provisions, but fortunately, the sailors refused to eat them. As the captain of Darwin's ship commented, "Few animals are uglier." But the marine iguanas are perfectly adapted to the Galapagos and lead the good life here. They warm themselves under the equatorial sun, sharing the rocks with their neighbors, the crabs. Like the land iguanas, they stake out their own territories. The marine iguana is the only seagoing lizard in the world. It can swim very well, hover like a submarine, and dive deep to feed on seaweed and algae. When he's satisfied, he uses his flat tail to propel himself to the surface. Dr. Roger Perry is the director of the Darwin Research Station in Galapagos. He told us that the marine iguanas are quite scarce in the settled areas of the islands. In fact, man and the domestic animals he's introduced pose an ominous threat to many of the species here. The domestic animals brought by the settlers have gone wild and are competing with the natural wildlife for food. The Galapagos tortoises once lived on at least 10 of the islands. Today, there are flourishing tortoise populations on only 2. Beginning about 300 years ago, pirates, sealers, and whalers provisioned their ships with the great Galapagos tortoise. One of the reasons for the establishment of the Darwin Research Station was to try to protect the remaining members of the threatened species. In the case of the tortoise, they are trying to put an end to the animals being killed by humans and to control the population of pigs, rats, and dogs, which kill the defenseless young. These saddleback tortoises live in the more arid regions of the island. Natural selection has decreed their form. For during drought periods, they're able to stretch their necks upwards to reach the fruit and cactus which makes up their diet. The tortoises lay 8 or 9 eggs, but often only 1 or 2 babies are able to get out of the earth. When they emerge, the young weigh only 2 ounces. Eventually, they may grow to weigh as much as 500 pounds. They have a lifespan of over 100 years and are probably the longest living creatures in the animal world. Darwin noted that each island has a slightly different tortoise, and this fact was one of the significant ideas which led to his famous work on the origin of the species by means of natural selection. Since that famous publication inspired by the animals of Galapagos, man's view of the world in general, and the animal world in particular, has not been the same. The Galapagos Islands straddle the equator and are scattered over an area of 3,000 square miles of open sea. They belong to Ecuador. About 3,500 people of 14 nations share these tropical islands with the animal life. These boys, Fitty and Tosh, are sons of the settlers. They come to visit the sea lions of Plaza Island, which form a welcoming committee for the boys. The island is small and uninhabited except by the animal life. Perhaps because no humans came here regularly until the 18th century, the Galapagos animals have almost no fear of man. The sea lions are particularly friendly and actively seek out man's company. The young seals love to play in the surf, and the boys add to their fun. On land, the young ones are just as docile and friendly as they are in the sea. You can actually pet them. But I wouldn't recommend tangling with mother or father sea lion. In 1953, it was decided that this species, though closely related to the California sea lion, is peculiar to the archipelago. And the discovery of a new species of the 20th century is an event worthy of note. It is also worthy of note that cold-watered dwellers like seals can live here at the equator. It's possible because the chilly Humboldt Current from Antarctic waters mingles with other currents around these islands. Who says surfing was invented by the Hawaiians? Karl Angemeyer came to the Galapagos as a young man. He left Hitler's Germany to make a new life here. Each evening, he calls the local marine iguanas, which have become friendly with him. They scramble up the rocks to his home when they hear his familiar call. One of them has even adopted Mr. Angemeyer and sleeps in his stone fireplace. The rest just come around at supper time and have a little rice to go with their seaweed. Whatever the iguanas leave, the family dog finishes. Since man has made an appearance here, the fate of the animals of Galapagos has been closely tied to human decision. Mr. Angemeyer is typical of the new breed of man who wants to protect the creatures of Galapagos and preserve the islands as evolution showcase. The Darwin Institute, with the help of UNESCO and the Ecuadorian government, is protecting those species which remain on the islands and attempting to restock areas where the populations have been decimated. With work and luck and love, the unique animal world of the Galapagos may yet survive.
Like monuments carved in granite, the strange creatures of Galapagos have weathered the ages. They survived the long journey. They survived the elements. And they survived man. It's ironic, then, that man, who was once their deadliest enemy, should now be their protector. Here at the Los Angeles Zoo, the work continues, for only through the combined study of the wild and captive tortoises can we hope to gain the knowledge and the wisdom necessary to help them survive. These are fascinating creatures, yet we know very little about them. For one thing, the lifespan of these tortoises has been a subject of controversy for many years. We know that they generally live 50 to 80 years in captivity, but we don't know how long they live in the wild. Although undocumented, there is speculation that they may live as long as 500 years. Well, I suppose there's something to be said for an unhurried lifestyle after all. And unhurried they are. Now let's see how well you can do playing Animal Quiz. Here's your first question. The Galapagos Islands are one of the geological wonders of the world, yet they are of immense scientific interest for another reason, and have been aptly dubbed Evolution Showcase. Why? Life began on these islands? Or Darwin found the missing link there? Many new species of animals evolved there. Well, the correct answer is C. The Galapagos Islands are home to many new species of animals that evolved into their present forms after they arrived there. One of the most remarkable of these animals are the iguanas. While iguanas can be found in many places throughout the world, there is one species that is totally unique to the Galapagos Islands. What is it? Is it the land iguana, or the marine iguana, or the sea lizard? Well, you're right if you answered B, the marine iguana. But that question might have been a little confusing because iguanas are lizards, and the marine iguanas are the only sea-going lizards in the world. Well, are you having fun? Let's try another question about the iguanas. Unlike their cousins, the land iguanas, the marine iguanas are perfectly adapted to life in the water. In fact, they can swim incredibly well. How does their diet differ from the cactus-eating land iguanas? Do they eat fish, or seaweed and algae, or insects and dry grasses? Well, you're right again if you answered B. The marine iguanas live entirely on seaweed and algae, and that's quite a bland diet for such a fearsome-looking creature. Well, how are you doing? Let's see if you can answer this next question. The Galapagos tortoise once lived on at least 10 of the islands. Today, there are flourishing tortoise populations on only 2 islands. Why? They were slaughtered by man. They were unable to compete for food with the other animals. They were plagued by diseases. The answer is A. The giant tortoises were slaughtered by man in such great numbers that they became extinct on all but 2 islands. Even without this danger, life is a struggle for the tortoises. They lay 8 or 9 eggs, yet very often only 1 or 2 babies are able to get out of the ground. Well, I hope you enjoyed our look at the unique and wonderful creatures of the Galapagos Islands. Join me next time when we'll discover more fascinating creatures on the new animal world. And remember, be kind to animals. It's good for everybody. Can you guess what kind of horse I'm mounted on? This is a magnificent thoroughbred, the king of horses. That's what they call them, and the title is well deserved. They're known for their beauty, grace, and speed. The term thoroughbred has become synonymous with racehorse. You see, they're bred specifically to run, and that's why riding a thoroughbred is an invigorating experience. Thoroughbreds are high-spirited, energetic, and challenging. They're taller than most horses, and they carry their heads in a higher position, almost as if they know they're royalty. Did you know that most of the jumpers in horse shows are thoroughbreds? That's right. And in this next half hour, we're going to learn a lot more about these majestic horses. How they're bred, how they're trained, what it takes to make a winner. And we'll see them in breathtaking action. Later on, we'll try our hand at playing Animal Quiz. But for now, join me on a fascinating journey into the world of equestrians, where a horse, by any other name, is not a thoroughbred.
Kentucky, thoroughbred capital of the world. Miles and miles of gently rolling bluegrass pastures bordered by white plank fences surround Lexington. They form the largest concentration of horse farms found anywhere. Here, the soil has a rich limestone base, and the grass grows thick and luxuriant for nurturing champions. And in Kentucky, both winners and royal racing blood are honored. Many records have been set, and millions of dollars have been won by champion horses carrying the red and blue silks of the Calumet stables. Calumet Farms has created a cemetery in tribute to those great thoroughbreds. Dominating the scene is a bronze statue to the legendary Bull Leah. A winner himself, Bull Leah sired 58 stakes winners, including the Great Citation. His get, or offspring, won over $13 million. At Normandy Farms, there's a memorial to Fair Play, sire of the most famous thoroughbred of all time, Man o' War. Both his sire and Mahuba, his dam, rest in honor here. Today, the blood of these and other great thoroughbreds races through the veins of future champions bred on Kentucky soil. The ancestry of all thoroughbreds can be traced to England. They are descended from 43 so-called royal mares, or 3 great stallions, the Byerly Turk, the Darley Arabian, and the Godolphin Barb. Although their antics contradict their noble heritage, every thoroughbred foal carries the bloodline of these ancestors. Their Arabian characteristics can still be seen, enhanced by centuries of careful breeding. The thoroughbred has a small, fine head, a deep chest, and straight back. Beyond that, it has speed and sensitivity. And the thoroughbred has something called heart or spirit that one can see developing even in these yearlings. Among this great breed, no horse is greater than Secretariat. Today, he stands at stud at Claiborne Farm. As we watch Secretariat in motion, we can see his handsome head, his powerful body, and glistening coat. These are some of the qualities that have made him a champion at the track and on the stud farm. In 1973, at the age of 3, Secretariat became the first horse in 25 years to win the Triple Crown, winning the Kentucky Derby, the Preakness, and Belmont Stakes. He won the Belmont Stakes, America's toughest race, by the widest margin in history, 31 lengths. After his retirement from racing, Secretariat sired the first yearling ever to be sold for over $1 million. Each year, hundreds of horse lovers travel to Kentucky to see the beauty of this thoroughbred in motion. today, Secretariat retains that spirit the horse lovers call class. Today, the open spaces of California have become a prime breeding ground for thoroughbreds. At Buddy Johnston's Old English Rancho, jockey Johnny Longden reminisces about a winning race on a winning horse named Real Good Deal.
Well, how does he look after 14 years since you won the Derby on him, John?
Well, looks like he could run right today, don't he, buddy?
Well, we can go get the tack and let you take him a bit around the track if you'd like.
I think when I walked up to him then, he thought I was going to get on him. He didn't want any part of that.
I don't doubt that. You suppose he remembers you?
Oh, I wouldn't doubt it.
That was an exciting race, wasn't it?
Yeah, every race I rode him was exciting. Especially the Hollywood Derby. You know, Shoemaker was on the horse close by. And that day, the whole Real Good Deal went to the lead, and about the half mile old Shoemaker came to me, and I think he thought he had me. And I let out a rap, and Real Good Deal opened up about 2, and then I let him kind of settle down, and then about the 3/16 pole, Shoe came at me again. It looked like he was going right on by him, but I kind of let out another rap on the big horse, and he just opened up.
I'll tell you, I think that was one of my most exciting moments in sport.
It's always a pleasure to ride a big horse.
A good one like
yeah,
that.
And he was a good horse. He
Yeah.
could really run.
Winning horses are the results of carefully planned breeding of quality stallions and mares. At that delicate, dangerous, and miraculous moment when life begins, everything possible is done to ensure that the thoroughbred gets the right start. Another birth, another miracle. Another foal with a hope for a lifetime of racing and glory before it. The veterinarian's assistant has soothed and aided the mare. And this experienced ranch hand has cared for her from the moment of her foal's conception. Together, they rejoice in this new life. After just minutes, the foal attempts to stand for the first time. Shaky and uncertain, the animal is nevertheless victorious. If only momentarily. Now, instinctively, it takes its first steps straight to its mother's side. Within about a half hour, they will be ready to leave the confines of the foaling stall. And for the next few weeks, they will be together constantly. Only 3 days after its birth, the spirited young filly is in the paddock, running with its mother and the other foals that have arrived with the springtime. Last spring's foals are now yearlings. At this point, the owners of Old English Rancho are studying the yearlings. The Johnstons and their ranch have a fine reputation to uphold. In 1972, they were the leading breeder of stakes winners in the United States. And they've been California's leading money-winning breeders year after year. Decisions must be made regarding which horses will be kept and trained and which will be sold. A thoroughbred is patiently and painstakingly gentled, broken, and trained. Gradually, it must learn to submit its strength to control and learn to obey. This is a demanding and delicate process which will greatly affect the future racer's career. One young woman expresses the enthusiasm of the many women successfully training and caring for racehorses.
Oh, I really enjoy the work. I love being outdoors, and it's just a feeling I can't really explain. It's like driving maybe a race car or something like that.
Exercise go on from dawn till dusk. Swimming has recently been introduced for the development of the thoroughbred stamina. It is known to be beneficial as therapy for horses that have had surgery or been injured. Many trainers are now using swimming as a regular part of their animals' conditioning. Swimming is done twice daily. The exercise is strenuous. 10 minutes is said to be equivalent to running 10 miles. But it takes endurance to be a winning racehorse. And that's where a thoroughbred's training should lead it. The careful breeding of thoroughbreds, the years of training and nurturing all culminate in one thing, race day. And what was once called the sport of kings is today known as the king of sports. This track, Keeneland Race Course in Kentucky, was begun as a labor of love by John Keene, continued and developed as a non-profit venture by local horse lovers and breeders. Keeneland has been called one of the last of America's truly aristocratic racetracks. It is a track for the sportsman, the individual who comes to appreciate the spirit and heart of the thoroughbred. On any race day at Keeneland, there are horses with extraordinary bloodlines making their first try at racing. The whole spring season here is preparation for thoroughbreds whose owners hope they will be champions. Keeneland's Bluegrass Stakes is the most critical preparatory race for the Kentucky Derby. During the past 16 years, first and second place finishers in the Bluegrass have provided more than half of the Derby winners. Anticipation builds as horse owners and fanciers watch the jockeys mount.
minutes of post time. Approaching the gate.
Through the years, horse racing has developed from a simple contest of speed and stamina between two horses to a colorful spectacle with rigid protocol. But its essential feature has always remained the same. The rewards go to the horse that finishes first. That's what Keeneland, thoroughbreds, and the Bluegrass Stakes are all about. Winning, setting standards, and excelling. That's what the history of these spirited, elegant, high-strung animals is about. Today, we see them in peak form, racing machines striving to blaze their way into thoroughbred history.
Well, that's what makes horse racing. The excitement, the surprises, and the thrill of picking a winner. George Washington was an owner and breeder of horses in colonial Virginia. Horse racing was a gentleman's sport in those days, a private diversion of the aristocracy. The sport has certainly changed since then, wouldn't you say? Now it's a billion-dollar business. And is there a more beautiful, sleek, or spirited horse than a thoroughbred? I don't think you'll find one. You see, the thoroughbred is used in equestrian sports in nearly 50 countries around the world. And it's been used in the development of other breeds of horses. The quarter horse was developed in America in the 1700s. Breeders had crossed thoroughbreds with horses from the Spanish colonies. And this new breed, called the quarter horse, could run at high speeds for short distances. Just recently, they've been breeding quarter horses with thoroughbreds. Why? So the quarter horse will have even more thoroughbred blood in them. Well, now it's time to check out the gear used in riding. The bridle is the headgear used to control the horse. It consists of straps and metal pieces that fit on the horse's head. And the bit, which fits in the horse's mouth, it has a set of reins, which control the bit pressure on the bit. And it tells the horse to do all sorts of things like raise his head or come to an abrupt halt. Of course, there's the saddle. Riders in the United States generally use a Western saddle or an English saddle. An English saddle is padded and more comfortable. It also interferes less with a horse's movement. So most jockeys use the English saddle to get the most speed from their horses. Do you know the first thing a rider is taught? To mount a horse from the left side. If you mount from the right side, you'll confuse the horse and maybe even startle him. Why? Because horses become used to being mounted on the left, since during the training period, that's the way it's done. Once you're on the horse, you squeeze your legs against its side, and the horse will start to move. Remember, never look at the horse while you're riding. Keep your eyes on where you're going. Horses, especially thoroughbreds, can run at tremendous speeds,
But lately, thoroughbreds have been partaking in another sport, swimming. Which brings us to the first question in our animal quiz. Swimming helps develop the thoroughbred stamina, but some particular horses are encouraged to swim. Which are they? A, very young thoroughbreds, or B, the older thoroughbreds, or C, horses that have been injured? Well, the correct answer is C, horses that have been injured or even had surgery. Swimming is very beneficial as therapy for these horses. 10 minutes in the water is said to be equivalent to running 10 miles. I wonder if that's true for humans. You know, since Alex Haley's roots, a lot of people have been concerned with their ancestry, and why should horses be left out? Suppose we were searching for thoroughbreds' ancestors. Where would we look? A, would it be Kentucky? B, England? Or C, perhaps Belgium? The answer is B, England. And every thoroughbred carries the bloodline of these ancestors. Now, if your guess was Kentucky, you were thinking that Kentucky is now the major area for the breeding and training and racing of thoroughbreds. Kentucky has become the thoroughbred capital of the world. Ah, but there's another state that's a prime breeding ground for thoroughbreds. What is it? A, California, B, Nevada, or C, that great big Texas? The correct answer is A. The open spaces of California become a prime breeding ground for thoroughbreds. Of course, we saw that the breeding of these horses is a very careful and painstaking process. Minutes after a foal is born, it attempts to stand. Then it takes its first steps. One day, the foal will start to run. When will that be? A, in 3 days, B, in 3 weeks, or perhaps C, in 3 months? Well, the correct answer is A. Only 3 days after it's born, the foal will be running with its mother. They don't waste any time, do they? That's why they grow up to be champion racers. I hope you've enjoyed our look at the exciting world of the thoroughbred. And if you're inspired to have a thoroughbred of your own, you should know the average price for a yearling is over $10,000. And the cost of maintaining a horse in training averages from $7,000 to $10,000 a year. So if you're like most people, you'll settle for watching these magnificent horses in action. And boy, there's something to behold. Please join me next time for another fascinating look at the incredible animal world. And remember, be kind to animals. It's good for everybody.
When you think of the Rock of Gibraltar, what comes to mind? A massive boulder at the southern tip of Spain? A bastion of British power? Well, the Rock has had quite a dramatic history. But by the end of this program, it will take on a new and very special meaning to you. It's home to the Barbary apes, the only monkeys living wild in all of Europe. Through the years, people have said that when the apes leave the Rock, the British will go along with them. Belief in that tradition has led the English to take very good care of their hairy little friends. Even during World War II, Sir Winston Churchill took time out to help save the Barbary apes. How did these creatures get to Gibraltar? How have they managed to survive on the Rock while empires have come and gone? Well, we're going to find out. And we'll see how these fascinating creatures eat, play, groom themselves, and raise a family. Watch closely, because later we'll try our hand at playing Animal Quiz. Are you ready to journey to the Rock of Gibraltar? Follow me. In earlier times, the Rock of Gibraltar was called a Pillar of Hercules. It marked the end of the known world. The Barbary apes have lived here for centuries, although there is no record of how or when they arrived. Numerous legends have arisen to explain their presence. According to one, the apes are living relics of a time when Europe and Africa were joined. A second legend tells us that the apes made their way from Africa through underground tunnels. A more popular theory is that they were brought here by the Moors during one of the many invasions of the Iberian Peninsula. But fossil evidence indicates that the Gibraltar apes are remnants of a stock of monkeys that roamed Europe many thousands of years ago. However they arrived, these crusty little primates have maintained a stronghold on the Rock, while foreign powers have come and gone. Through 14 sieges, the Rock has withstood onslaughts by Moors, the Spanish, and the British. During the Second World War, Gibraltar proved vital to the Allied cause. In 1942, the Rock was used as headquarters for the dramatic invasion of North Africa. But the war took its toll, and the apes' numbers declined to less than a dozen. Winston Churchill expressed his concern for the future of the apes in a famous message. The establishment of the apes should be 24. And every effort should be made to reach this number as soon as possible. When the guns were finally silenced and the fortresses deserted, Churchill's intervention had proved successful. The ape population had been restored. Actually, the Gibraltar apes are not really apes at all. That term correctly applies to the much larger, heavier, and more intelligent gorillas, chimpanzees, and orangutans. These apes are really tailless monkeys, scientifically known as Macaca sylvanus. They are found in scattered troops throughout Morocco and Algeria, as well as on the Rock.
The cause for this confusion seems to lie with the Europeans of the 1600s. Traveling to Africa and seeing the gorilla and chimp for the first time, they began using the term ape to describe any large primate. In Gibraltar, the term stuck, and to this day, these animals are traditionally referred to as the rock apes of Gibraltar. Besides their historical importance, the Gibraltar apes share another distinction. They are the only remaining wild troop of monkeys living in Europe. Today, there are some 40 monkeys roaming free over Gibraltar. They are known the world over, a legend in their own time. But how long will the legend last? The Gibraltar monkeys have seen legions of invaders come and go over the centuries. Changing times may have detracted from Gibraltar's military importance, but they have added to other attractions of the rock. Today, the invaders come in different uniforms, armed with cameras. And the monkeys have become a popular source of entertainment for visitors to the rock. As the cars filled with tourists wind around the rock's twisting paths, they may even pick up an unexpected passenger. The monkeys seem to enjoy the handouts and the free publicity. But what will happen to them now, locked on a promontory with a city growing ever closer? The relationship between British soldier and Gibraltar monkey officially dates back to 1913, when monkeys were raiding shops, houses, and barracks. Due to the many complaints of the townspeople, a master gunner from the old royal garrison was given the task of feeding the monkeys in addition to his normal duties. Sergeant Alfred Holmes has held the position Keeper of the Apes since 1959. Each week, he visits the local market to purchase such delicacies as fresh bananas, oranges, sweet potatoes, carrots, peanuts, and biscuits. This food supplies about 1/3 of the animal's daily needs. The monkeys must supplement this diet by foraging for natural foods: berries, figs, leaves, roots, and prickly pears. The Colonial Office has allocated a food allowance for the monkeys, and every year this budget must be approved by the British Parliament. Recently, each monkey was granted a raise. The monkeys are accounted for in military fashion. Births, deaths, and injuries appear in the Army reports. Each monkey is named at birth, and Sergeant Holmes regularly takes roll call to ensure that everyone is present. At this time, he will also check to see that all the animals are healthy. During the past several days, Sergeant Holmes has noticed that Roger, a 1-year-old, has eaten little and has been quiet and subdued. A few months ago, Roger was seriously ill. So, fearful of a relapse, Sergeant Holmes decides to take a precautionary measure. Roger must go to the hospital for a checkup. The response from the rest of the pack is immediate as they come to the defense of one of their members. Sergeant Holmes is reluctant to capture an animal very often, for the effects are long-ranging. It will be several months before he regains the full trust of the troop. At the hospital, Roger is examined by the garrison medical officer. He's accorded the same courtesy and attention that a human patient would receive. The doctor diagnoses Roger's trouble and prescribes rest and medication. 10 days later, Roger is well enough to be returned to the troop. The male leader of the troop is still angry with Sergeant Holmes. Were the keeper now to place himself in a vulnerable position, the monkey would probably attack. But Sergeant Holmes is familiar with the behavior of these animals. He judiciously raises the cage door, and Roger bounds out onto the leader's back. Restored to the familiarity of home ground, Roger resumes eating with zest, as if to make up for lost time. It will be some months before his former trust in Sergeant Holmes is restored. But the memory of his capture will eventually fade. Healthy and happy, the youngster returns to the traditional ways of life on the Rock. On the upper reaches of the Rock lives a second wilder troop of monkeys, the Middle Hill Pack. This troop has become the focus of a study by Dr. Francis Burton, a young physical anthropologist from the University of Toronto. With the help of Sergeant Holmes, Dr. Burton is studying the lifestyles of these Gibraltar monkeys. She is interested in the important function of child rearing in this society and is observing relationships centering around mother and newborn. Ben is the young leader of the Middle Hill Pack. As leader, he plays an important role in the child-rearing activity. The first mother of the spring is Charlotte. At 9 years of age, she is one of the most experienced mothers of the troop. She has sufficient milk to nourish her baby and knows how to properly care for it. She's especially protective during the first few days of the infant's life. The only members of the troop that she allows near her newborn are her offspring of previous years and Ben, the father of her infant son. The baby is helpless. Much of his time is spent eating and sleeping. Ben remains close to Charlotte and the infant during this early period. In his role as the leader male, Ben makes several attempts to take the baby, but Charlotte is reluctant. She hasn't gained sufficient confidence in his ability to care for the infant. The infant occasionally suffers from his father's exuberance and his mother's obvious reluctance. After much coaxing and gentleness, Ben finally succeeds in taking the baby on the third day. When holding his son, Ben always checks to see where Charlotte is. He cuddles the baby, cleans him, and will gradually teach him the ways of the troop. As long as the infant is quiet, the mother will appear unconcerned. Ben holds the infant as the excited 1- and 2-year-olds gather around. They express a childlike curiosity toward the new baby. As little ones arrive throughout the summer, Ben will allow the older male adolescents to care for some of the infants. The second baby is born to Helen, a 4-year-old. Now the leader's attention will be divided between the two mothers. Charlotte resents Ben's attention toward Helen and her new baby, and a conflict results. When Helen approaches, Charlotte threatens her away. When Ben's entire attention is focused on Helen, Charlotte attacks. Ben moves quickly to soothe her anger. Had he been a more experienced leader, he could have discouraged this aggression by one female toward another. In spite of her inexperience, Helen is learning to become a good mother. She's obviously concerned about her baby. When the father is gone, the two females get along quite well together, as if joined by a common bond. On the 5th day, Helen's infant dies. It is not unusual for such a young female to lose her firstborn. It may miscarry, or be a stillborn, or die shortly after birth. This young mother cannot grasp what death is, and she continues to care for her baby. But life goes on for the rest of the troop, and there are many other interesting facets of behavior to be studied. One of the most important is grooming. Grooming serves a hygienic purpose, cleaning old wounds, removing dried bits of skin, dirt, and an occasional parasite. But even more important is its social function. Grooming helps to reinforce the bond between animals. Animals who are outcasts are disliked or seldom groomed by other members of the troop. Their fur can become matted as they are unable to thoroughly clean themselves. For those more fortunate, grooming can be especially relaxing, not only for the one being groomed, but also for the groomer. Play is an important pastime for the young members of the troop. In play, these youngsters will develop physical abilities and will begin to relate to each other. The activity may become rough and tumble, but if one of the youngsters should cry out, an adult would probably stop the game. Dr. Burton decides to create a game of her own, but a game with a purpose. An eye-to-eye gaze between two of these animals will usually provoke an immediate response. But how will a Gibraltar monkey react to his mirrored image? Each monkey will be watched as it approaches to see how it responds. It isn't long before Ben comes over to investigate. He's had some experience with mirrors on cars. He peers at the distance reflected in the background. And then, as if to avoid the mirrored image, he furtively begins to eat. Dr. Burton notes that each monkey responds differently, but all react as if they are viewing another animal. Some are perplexed, some are surprised, some react with fear, and some are just interested in the other monkey. Why is Dr. Burton studying these animals? And what does she hope to learn?
Well, I'm interested in the behavior of these animals. I'm trying to discover what they perceive about their world and how much of that world is a learning experience. Each monkey has a distinctive personality, and I'm curious about how that personality is formed and how it eventually comes to influence group roles such as child rearing. I want to compare the Gibraltar monkeys to the Moroccan monkeys. Later on, I can extend this comparison to related species and ultimately to man.
Through the efforts of people such as Francis Burton, we are gradually moving from the legends of the past toward a deeper understanding of our animal world.
Aren't they something? Now when you think of the Rock of Gibraltar, I'll bet those adorable apes come to mind. Now this is Nick, a Celebes macaque. The monkeys at Gibraltar are Macaque sylvanus. There are about 50 different kinds of macaques, and they're all about the size of a fox terrier. One characteristic of this species is their cheek pouches, in which food is stored. Have you ever considered having a monkey for a pet? Well, they're very intelligent, and they're sociable. Oh, they can be mischievous and temperamental, but they can never be thoroughly housebroken. Macaques travel in groups together of about 100. I wonder if Nick is lonely for his companions. Like most monkeys, macaques have no particular breeding season. The female usually has a single infant 7 months after mating. And here's a surprising fact. In its 3rd year of life, the baby is old enough to mate. It's pretty early, don't you think? It's not even fully grown till it reaches the age of 4 or 5. Do you suppose monkeys live up to their stereotype? Well, they can all climb trees, but they don't all eat bananas. Most monkeys feed on insects, birds' eggs, seeds, berries, and grasses. We often interchange the words ape and monkey, but that's not correct. The apes we saw at Gibraltar are not really apes at all. And this brings us to the first question in our animal quiz. What does the term ape really apply to? Large, heavy gorillas and chimps? Gorillas of the prehistoric age? Any size gorillas of Africa? Well, the correct answer is A. The term ape applies to large and heavy gorillas, chimpanzees, and orangutans. Back in the 1600s, the Europeans traveled to Africa and used the term ape to describe any primate. In Gibraltar, the term stuck, and to this day, the animals are referred to as the rock apes of Gibraltar. They're somewhat of a legend, these monkeys. How many are there in Gibraltar? 40? 400? Or almost 1,000? Well, the answer is A. There are only 40 monkeys roaming around Gibraltar, and they're the only remaining wild troop of monkeys living in Europe. We saw how the young monkeys play together, and playing is worthwhile for more than just amusement. Why is playing important for young monkeys? Is it because it trains them for playing with humans? It gives the mothers a rest? Or it helps them develop physical abilities? The answer is C. It helps them develop physical abilities. It also allows them to begin to relate to one another. Besides playing together, the animals often groom one another. This helps to clean old wounds and remove dirt. But grooming serves a very important social function. Why is grooming important? Is it a prelude to mating? Or does it reinforce the bond between animals? Or does it make the female more attractive to the male? Well, the correct answer is D. Grooming reinforces the bond between these monkeys. It's a warm and friendly gesture. Animals who are disliked are seldom groomed by other members of the troop. Animals have to eat, of course, and the monkeys of Gibraltar are no exception. How are they fed? By the tourists? By a British officer? Or by the eldest member of the troop who feeds? Well, the correct answer is B. By a British officer. Tourists may feed the monkeys once in a while, but the animals don't depend on them for their regular diet. Each week, the British officer purchases carrots, peanuts, biscuits, bananas, and this food supplies about 1/3 of the animal's daily needs. And the monkeys supplement this with natural foods like berries, leaves, and figs. Now, remember the interesting experiment we saw? We tried to find out how the Gibraltar monkeys would react to their mirrored image. If you remember correctly, each monkey reacted differently, but they all had one particular response in common. What was the common reaction? They all expressed fear, they knew that they were viewing themselves, or they thought that they were viewing another animal. Well, the correct answer is C. While some monkeys were surprised and others were frightened or confused, they all reacted as if they were viewing another animal. By observing these monkeys, maybe we can ultimately learn something about human nature. In the meantime, we can enjoy the pleasant company of these bright little animals. The tourists who come to Gibraltar certainly do. The monkeys have become almost as famous as the rock itself. I hope you enjoyed our visit to Gibraltar. Remember, be kind to animals. It's good for everybody.
Come on home where your good friends are waiting. Everything shiny and new. Come where excitement is playing. Walt Disney and you.
Come home to all your good friends. Mickey, Donald, Goofy, Herbie, Alice, Winnie the Pooh, Mary Poppins, Pollyanna,
You have a stubby little nose.
and many more. You'll see your favorite heroes, including Zorro, Davy Crockett, the king of the wild frontier, and Condor Man, Disney's spy in the sky. But there's no escaping the Disney villains.
You call that murder?
Lean on him.
Am I in your way? He's not an agent of the CIA. He is a writer of comic books. Hey, don't nobody know this is a holdup.
That rotten car is driving me piffy!
Fire that musket, and I cuts his throat.
Was that anyone we know?
He's your uncle.
Yes, that's why I happen to know Uncle Alonzo has a heart.
Want a light? You're invited to enter a world of excitement. Suspense.
What did you see?
Surprise. And laughter.
Oh, my God.
A world of tenderness.
Please try to understand, Pollyanna. You're such a part of our lives now. Nancy and Angelica, Mrs. Lagerlof. And I love you as if you were my own little girl. Won't you give me that chance, please?
Tears.
Tony, you've got to get out of here before it's too late, please.
Adventure. and music.
Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. Even though the sound of it is something quite atrocious. If you say it loud enough, you'll always sound composed. Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious.
And more laughter.
Hey, you mangy cur, come back with my car! Get him! That shaggy dog just stole my car!
Roses and rainbows.
And more music.
You better take a look again.
That's just the way we like them.
It's magic. It's frightening.
Isn't this a clever disguise?
It's cute.
What are you supposed to be?
I'm a little black rain cloud, of course.
Silly old bear.
It's fun. And it'll take you by surprise. Are you ready for the Disney lineup?
You ready? I'm ready. You ready?
I'm ready. You ready?
I said I was ready.
Come on home. See what's waiting for you. Waiting for you. Come on home where your video's playing. Good times and waiting, it's true. Come where your family is waiting for Walt Disney and you. Walt Disney and you. Walt Disney and you.
Now available from Walt Disney Home Video.
Great!